Welcome back. Today I'm talking about 8½, the Fellini masterpiece. Again, like Pink Hang Rock video, Netscape Epic did a live stream, that's where we talked about the film, and live streamers just put comments in the sidebar which you commented on. So I was involved there in the side comment thing. Again, it was one of those ones where I felt I had more to say than what I put in the side comments. Because it was just a film that was interesting, so I thought I could do a video on it, so here's the video. Right, I'm not really someone who's seen that much Fellini. I've seen La Dolce Vita and I've saw 8½, and I've got a few more of his films on the Blu-ray and DVD that I'm going to start watching, but I'm not like someone who's an expert on Fellini. When it's Italian directors, I was much more into like Leone and Bertolucci and things like that. A lot of the exploitation directors. You know, Fellini kind of, he was one of those directors, you know, like, I'll get to him eventually. I'm doing other directors just now, I'll watch them and I'll get to him at some point. He's that kind of director. I really liked La Dolce Vita when I saw it when I was a teenager, and I saw this. I didn't like this as much. I thought it was really self-indulgent and flaky and weird, and I just wasn't that keen on it. I could tell it was a well-made film, but I didn't respond to it like at all. It was just like one of those films like, I guess I'll watch it at some point in the future, but at some point I'm not like in a rush to see it again. And 20 years passed and I never watched it again, and it was just like there was no real need to watch. There was nothing there that made me want to see it again until this live stream came up. So I watched it again. I had bought it like a couple months before that, and with the idea that I should really watch this again, but still I bought it and it was up in the list of films to watch that I have in a pile of Blu-rays to watch, and still was like, I'll get to that eventually. It was like, I'm sort of like that sometimes. So eventually, because the live stream came, I watched it and I really enjoyed it a lot more. It really connected to me this time, and it was a much more interesting film to me. The thing I really like about it is the whole idea, it goes between fantasy and reality, and the protagonist doesn't care. To him, both sides have validity, you know, because the fantasy is telling him stuff that the reality is not, and the reality is telling him stuff that the fantasy can't get to, and they can intermingle. It's almost like he's trying to work stuff out. So sometimes he'll pay attention to reality, and sometimes he'll pay attention to what's in his dreams, and he's still trying to work it out, and he's not doing a very good job because he's a director and he's an idiot at times, and he's self-indulgent and silly and wasteful of people. And this film doesn't take into the idea that this guy, because he's a protagonist, he's perfect. It's not. It kind of shows he's been destructive to people in a way that is not very nice and probably unacceptable, and he's part of this macho culture that treats women badly. You know, he has affairs, he self-medicates with booze and probably pills, but mainly booze in this culture. I think the pills kind of would come later in the 70s and 80s, really, in the 60s. This one's still before that. It's more booze, self-medicating. It is the kind of thing where he's dealing with his mistress and his wife, and he's not treating either very well, and they're both passive aggressive to him because they know the other person exists, and he's kind of treating it like, even though he knows it's his fault, he's kind of treating it like their fault, and it's really his problem. He won't deal with that. Also, he's dealing with film. He doesn't. He can't have an idea that doesn't really work, which is the sci-fi idea. This sci-fi spaceship getting built, and he has no idea what to do with it because it's basically like a shipwreck in the middle of this field. He doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't have a clue what he's going to do with it because he's built something that doesn't mean anything. It's sort of like a modern blockbuster where they build all this stuff and throw stuff at the screen and it doesn't mean anything, and why should you really go along with it? You know, you see films that advertised all the time as like, the people making this lost their minds well before they got to the filming stage. All these things they built, but it doesn't mean anything. So he's done that to himself, so it's like, what do I do? And plus he's been because it's kind of bracing the Fellini but kind of not, it's like he's fictionalising himself. He's like taking himself but creating himself as a fiction. So this is a well-respected director who can't really afford to make a bomb or make a sort of self-indulgent mess. But since he's kind of burnt himself out a little bit, he hasn't found that new idea that'll bring life to it. He's just floating around. So the good thing about Fellini was Fellini saw that in himself and actually created a film about it. Instead of wallowing in it, he just said, okay, that's the subject, that's what we can film about, a guy who's lost his way and who's floating between fantasy and reality. And he's given both, like, not enough weight, too much weight. Like, there's weight to the fantasies, like all these different women he's met in the past, and it shows he sees women in a very kind of superficial way, and he's kind of, and the comment is he's never very good at love stories, and which he admits to, because he's very superficial. He's not a guy who is good at dealing with women's emotions and women's needs. It's kind of like, what are you doing for me? He's good at superficial thing. We asked one his mistress to dress up slutty for him. It shows you his mentalities, looking at people's objects, and when it becomes a person, he gets uncomfortable, but not in a kind of childish way. It's a grown-up way where he's got lots of evasions, like cruelty and, apathy. Even though he's behaving like a child, he has all these techniques to make him look like a grown-up, even though he's behaving childishly. The whole film he's behaving childishly about. He has no idea what to do with it. He won't tell anybody, he has no idea what to do with it. So he's acting like a grown-up child. But he's too well respected for him to bring him up on it and say, like, you've been horrible here. It's that kind of thing where he is badly behaving, and the whole film is an expression of his, like, bad behaviour. He can't face himself, so he goes into fantasy, but he can't have constructed fantasies, so the fantasies are vague and sexual and not too deep. Like, he sees his parents, but they don't say much that's of interest. He has fantasies about different people he's met, and he recontextualise them for their own character, for the character coming through. It's like he's his wife in his fantasy, but she's not acting the way his wife actually acts. And even at the end, where he's like giving up, the film's collapsed on him, and suddenly he's some happiness, and there's a carnival. It feels like a fantasy, but it's a very self-indulgent fantasy. It's like he hasn't quite clicked what the problems are. He's happy to float along. Like, the fantasy of freedom is good enough for him at the moment, which is kind of the worst damnation you can have. It's like, I got away with bad behaviour, yay. What do I do next? Who knows? I got away with it. I survived it. There's a suggestion at some point he shot himself, but that's as weightless as anything else that happened in the film. And that's what's really interesting in the film, how kind of he does take reality and fantasy as equal, the way a director or writer may do, like where the emotional reality of a fantasy has just as much weight as the people in the real life that maybe you're not treating as well, maybe you're not investigating what the problems are as well as you should be, maybe not caring for them as much as you should be. And that becomes his modus operandi. So I think it's a very dark film. I mean, it's got the lightness on the surface and everything's kind of funny and charming, and there's a lot of amusing bits to it, and he behaves in a humorous way, but it's really dark. I mean, it's like this guy's in hell, but even at the end you don't feel like they have an upbeat ending of something, a suggestion of life going on and everything's kind of moving on, people are in a party, but it's, and the messiness becomes the art. I'm not quite sure if that's the reality. I think he needs a messiness to create the art. That's obviously true of him, but he's not particularly brave about the causes of the messiness. He's just evading. So it's like a suggestion that he'll just retreat into fantasy rather than doing work that's difficult. So it's kind of ambiguous where Is that a good or bad thing? Is creating fantasy a good thing if you can do these wonderful fantasies that will create life for people and create joy for people? Or is it just an invasion of like greater problems that he will keep avoiding and people keep going through his life and getting hurt by him? It's never answered, but that's kind of I think that's a problem that is the base of the film is this a good or bad thing what he's doing? And it's probably a bad thing, but it's ambitious enough to show that the art will come from his dislocation and his problems, but there are a price to pay and he's kind of avoiding paying the price, and he will always find ways to avoid paying the price. I don't have much more to say about this film actually, without trying to go scene by scene. I don't want to do that. I just think that's my take on the film. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you go and watch the film and find your own take on it, because it is a very interesting, fascinating film. So I'm glad Daisuke did his live stream on it, so it was good to watch it and get motivated to watch it again. Because it is a much deeper film than I originally thought. But I kind of get the feeling it'll be about another couple of years before I watch it again. Like, I don't think I'll be watching it like non-stop. Like, it's not that kind of film. I think it's a film you watch once in a while. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be back soon with another video.